No, it really does not. And I'll tell you the reason why we're seeking to do this now. I've already drafted up a new constitution to start another compact. And the reason is, as being an ambassador, ambassadors can be unappointed too, just like the United States. We'll do it to its own, right? So it gives me diplomatic immunity. It doesn't necessarily make me the sovereign of the nation state, if that makes sense.
No. What's the difference? Diplomatic immunity.
The difference would be I'm not signed on to their constitution, let's put it that way.
Whose constitution?
The other nation state that I represent, that I'm an ambassador for.
Okay. All right. So you're a diplomat for another nation state.
But I'm not signatory to the documents that formed the nation state.
Okay. Just like you were talking about here in this country with the Constitution.
Correct.
And so since you're not signatory, you still can have diplomatic immunity from everybody else?
The diplomatic immunity is granted because they are this particular nation state is a signatory to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Immunity. They are signatory to the conventions on road travel, which means they have the right to generate their own travel documents and passports. And they're signatory on many of the treaties globally.
You have diplomatic
because once you come out of a system, Patrick, once you come out, you still want to go back in and do business. No man is an island. No country is an island. They all do business with one another.
Yeah. So then you still pay income taxes?
No.
Oh, okay. So, but you can't break the law here.
No.
Okay.
Well, let me explain that. I can. As far as the general laws, I mean, I've been pulled over for speeding, and they look at my passport and give it back to me and say, consider this a courtesy stop.
Okay.
But I don't, and I'll tell you the reason I don't. When I mentioned earlier about constitutions being of an international public order, if you're looking for peaceful settlement, you have to maintain the international public order. You have to maintain the public order everywhere. I'm not here to thumb it in anyone's face. That's not diplomacy. That's not decorum, and it's not very honorable.
So you still, can we say, do all you have agreed to do and do not encroach on other persons or their property?
I like that.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that? That
was coined by a hero of mine, Richard Maybury. He calls them the two laws. He's a very interesting man. You might look at richardmaybury.com. He predicts economic stuff years before they happen because he understands this. And the two laws are 17 words. Do all you have agreed to do, and do not encroach on other persons or their property. And I would argue, from learning from him, that you do those two things in the deal. You got the deal.
You know, it's very interesting, though, and about that. I do agree with that. Do all you agreed to do. There is a paradigm, I want to say where it comes from. I'll just put it this way. It says, if you were born a slave, be a good one. But if you can gain your freedom, do so, and then don't seek to be slaves again. We live in a world that's run by contracts and agreements. Like I said, people just show up and think it's Disney World and the rides are running, and they don't understand how the construct is set up to make it run. So that was my goal in starting this, was to find out why I specifically did not have the rights that I thought I had.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you how that started, Patrick. We had our bank accounts frozen. We were living in St. Kitts in the Caribbean. We had a home that was paid for that we, paid $300,000 cash for and moved outside the U.S. because I simply wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of here. I didn't know that I was going to have to come back and learn all the legal stuff. So over an 18-month period, universally or whatever, the universe, we lost all those funds and we lost our house. And I had to move back here to deal with the legal problems.
How'd you lose it? Can we ask?
Funds were seized out of Cayman Islands by the U.S. government.
Wow. That's ugly.
Yes, and that's when I found out that they do have, people out here. When I say it's business, it's business. And for those people out here that are wealthy, if any are on this call and you think these offshore jurisdictions have any obligation to protect or defend you, they do not. And the United States has jurisdiction by treaty in all those countries, including Caymans, and we watched them march down into Cayman Islands and snatch $600,000 or close to it from us.
So people with offshore bank accounts, for example, if they know they're there, whoever they are, they can get them?
they own the money. The Federal Reserve notes are owned by them.
Yeah.
It's called depositories of public money in Title 12, Section 90. See, this is very serious, Patrick.
Yeah.
It's very serious.
They own all the money, right?
I'm sorry?
They own all the Federal Reserve notes, or what they call dollars.
Yes, they do. So in an offshore banking situation, all they simply have to do is walk in and go, "You boys got any ferns in here? Those are ours."
Well, can't you change your FRNs to something else? They probably own those too.
That would be advisable, but at the same time, as a U.S. citizen, you're obligated to help the nation, to help them pay their debts under the 14th Amendment, where it says you can't dispute the debts.
But
so most of the people that are offshore, I use this terminology, and this is going to sound really scary. You're viewed as being, if you're not helping them, if you're not paying your fair share and you're trying to get out from under your obligations to help them pay that debt, in other words, paying your fair share of the taxes, then you're viewed in their eyes as an absconding debtor. You're absconding with their public monies, and they want them back.
And Andrew Goss tells us that, for example, the euro is really owned by the same people as own the FRNs.
That's true. And by the way, Patrick, let's look at a current event. Okay, we talked about history quite a bit, but a current event. They just passed the HIRE Act, HIRE. And this has to do with they are hiring 16,500 new IRS agents. Now, they're claiming that this is because of the new health care bill, and the health care bill is going to be enforced by the IRS. You've probably heard this, correct?
Right.
Do you know that actually does not go into effect for 4 years?
Right.
So what are those new 16,000 agents going to be doing in the meantime?
What do you think?
They're going offshore to go audit Americans and U.S. citizens abroad.
Wow.
And in this act as well, I'm sorry, was it the HIRE Act? Okay, what the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. government has now passed it so that foreign banks, if you're a U.S. citizen moving money around into the foreign banks,
right,
they're now required to send 30% back to the Treasury.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So effectively what they're doing is they're locking U.S. citizens off from international business because a lot of these foreign banks are already telling them, we don't want your business anymore because we are not going to become your withholding agent for the IRS.
I wonder if you had FRN somewhere. We're not advocating breaking any laws if you're a citizen, but if you could convert it to some kind of a currency that they don't control, but maybe maybe they're all the same. I don't know.
They are all the same.
Yeah,
all the central banks are owned by all the same people.
Yeah, that's what our man tells us as well, everything. It's all the same game.
Can I mention how to get around this?
What's that?
Can I mention how to get around this?
I was just about to ask.
Okay. When I say that building the nation state is the ultimate asset protection program and becoming your own people, coming together people like mine, this is what they do. This is what they have done over all these years. And they did it to secure the blessings of liberty to themselves and their posterity. It's business. And so they have in the banking system itself, by treaties and agreements among nations, among states, they have this little thing called variation by agreement. And variation by agreement means that you, as having immunity now, having diplomatic immunity, you varied the agreement. And the agreement meaning you don't owe any more taxes to them because you now pledged to something else, like they did, life, fortune, property, to build a new compact, a new society. And that variation by agreement specifically does this, Patrick, is so that the liability for the use of anyone's notes on the planet does not stick to you. So if you use yen, you don't pay Japanese taxes. If you use US dollars, you don't pay US taxes. If you use Russian rubles, you don't pay Russian taxes. And this is how they operate. They are immune. They have exemptions. And those exemptions roll down in the banking system as what's called W-8 foreign exempt accounts. Now, there's a lot of patriots out here who think they're foreign, and they go try to get these accounts, and they get themselves into trouble. You literally do and better understand what it means to be foreign before you